In August of 2020, I went on a girls' backpacking trip with my friend Megan. We started from the parking lot by Copper Mountain, the far east lot Trailhead, and we hiked segment 8 of the Colorado Trail. We originally planned to do this segment of the trail in 4 days and 3 nights, but we ended up doing it in 3 days and 2 nights. The segment is a little over 24 miles total and about 4,500 feet of elevation gain. Segment 8 of the Colorado Trail begins in Copper Mountain Ski Resort and it goes over to Tennessee Pass near Leadville. We parked one car at each trailhead so that we could just hike point to point and then be finished and drive back to our cars. This was one of the few segments we could find where we could easily access both trailheads. No four-wheel drive or anything was required. On our first day, we hiked around 6.5 miles and about 1,500 feet of elevation gain. On this segment of the trail, you leave tree line between mile 8 and mile 9. Since we only went about 6.5 miles the first day, we were below tree line the whole time, which we were thankful for because the weather turned to be a little bit stormy and rainy. We camped around mile 6.5, where there were several campsites on a little offshoot from the trail. Soon after we got to camp, it started raining and thunderstorming, but thankfully it passed pretty quickly and the skies cleared up. We got to camp and had time to enjoy this beautiful view of the mountains around us. Our entertainment for the evening was trying to hang our bear bag, which didn't go as smoothly as we hoped it would. Overall, it was a good first day, and we were ready to get above tree line on day 2. Our second day of hiking started in the trees, but we pretty quickly went above tree line. Thankfully, we had really beautiful weather on this day, and the sky was perfectly clear the whole day. You're above tree line for a little over 5 miles on this segment of the trail. We went over 2 mountain passes as well as the high point of the segment on day 2. Here I am coming up to Suril Pass, the first pass of the day, at just over 12,000 feet. The next few miles continue through the tundra with slight ups and downs pretty continuously until you get to the high point of the segment at Elk Ridge, just over 12,280 feet. On the way up to Elk Ridge, I could see over to Mayflower Gulch, which we had hiked earlier this summer. It was kind of cool to look at it from the different view. Our original plan was to stop at Elk Ridge for a snack. It was so windy once we got up there that we just wanted to keep moving. Where I'm pointing here is looking back on the trail at Suril Pass, where we had just come from a few miles earlier. From this point at Elk Ridge, which is the high point of the trail, you start to decline down to Kokomo Pass. The trail goes back down below tree line at about mile 13.5. On our second night, we camped around mile 16.5. This was a really popular camp area because between miles 17.2 and 20.1, you're not allowed to camp. So a lot of people stopped around this area, and it was pretty popular for camping. On our third and final day, we got an early start before the sun rose. We were hoping to get out in time to go get brunch somewhere since it was the weekend, but by the time we actually got out, we just wanted to go home. The first few miles of our third day were nice and flat, It was really beautiful walking through the open meadows with the sun rising. There are a few brief road walks on this part of the segment before you enter the Camp Hale area. As you can see from the sign, you're not allowed to camp for these next 3 miles because of possible unexploded ordnances, since this area was a World War II Alpine training camp. Soon after entering the Camp Hale area, the trail begins to climb again. It was a pretty steady climb, but at this point I was so ready to be back at the car that I think it felt a little harder than it really was. After crossing the road, the trail goes back into a meadow area that was pretty flat and easy, before climbing again up to the Trailhead parking lot at Tennessee Pass. Before we knew it, we were back to the Trailhead at Tennessee Pass. We felt really accomplished after hiking a little over 24 miles and 4,500 feet of elevation gain.